Planet Hustle. Big shout out to SPI, Spotter Low. You know, I'm in the black box. Had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned. All that.
I was attracted toward this title simply because it seemed to describe me. I was curious to see if the content creator was going to describe me further as he described the individual that he was reflecting upon in the title. Basically, that's the only reason. Yeah, because I be thinking something wrong with me sometimes because I don't really give a about what that other individual on the face of this earth is experiencing, going through, thinking about, caring about, feeling outside of my immediate, intimate circle. I think it's not, but then I do have a general care for the entire thing of everybody. I do care when I see people. I'm a sucker for people hanging out at the store bumming. Break bread. I mean, I'm generous in my own way. I do have a concern, but as far as their business, keeping up with people, calling, checking, trying to socialize, it's just not my she-net. I just don't give a phoenix. So this title attracted me for those reasons. So with no further ado, let's see what they say the psychology of an individual such as that usually would be up to.
There's a certain kind of man the world overlooks. He doesn't chase the noise. He doesn't fill his evenings with bars, crowds, or constant company. While others measure life by movement and applause, he finds meaning in stillness, in the quiet hum of his own space. He is not lonely, though others may think so. He is not hiding, though the world might assume he is. He simply loves staying at home. But what does that really mean? What kind of psychology exists behind a man who feels more alive within his walls than beyond them? Society calls it introversion, maybe isolation. Some even mistake it for fear or failure. Yet beneath this calm exterior lies something deeper, a rebellion against the noise of modern existence, a return to self, a silent understanding that peace does not require witnesses. We live in an era that worships motion. People who go out, connect, and broadcast their lives are celebrated as living fully. Those who stay in are often labeled withdrawn, antisocial, or emotionally cold. But perhaps the opposite is true. Perhaps the man who stays home has learned something most have forgotten, that comfort with one's own company is not weakness, but wisdom. The home, for him, is not just a place. It is a psychological landscape. Every corner reflects his inner world, the order he creates, the chaos he controls, the small rituals that anchor his day.
A lot of men don't even know how to imagine this because they don't even have their own space. Majority of most men, especially in our environments, the space that they occupy is typically captained by a female, and that's just keeping it a Google on my mama.
The way he brews coffee, arranges his desk, lets the light fall across his books. These are not random acts. They are manifestations of his mind, his need for control, harmony, and quiet purpose. There's also a kind of safety here, not from the world itself, but from the endless performance it demands. Outside, he feels the pull to conform, to impress, to entertain. Inside, he can simply exist. His thoughts can wander without interruption. His identity no longer needs to compete. This essay isn't about loneliness or fear of the outside world. It's about self-knowledge. It's about understanding why a man might choose the quiet path, not because he is escaping, but because he's arriving. So let's ask a simple question that reveals something profound. What if the man who loves staying at home isn't retreating from life, but finally living it on his own terms? To understand the psychology of a man who loves staying at home, we must first step into the silence that surrounds him. It is not an ordinary silence, not the kind born from absence.
Especially when you're creative, because when you get silent, sometimes that's when you witness the most things, hear the most things, because it goes on within here and in here. Shout out to my boy Eastside Herb. By the way, though, like sietes, long in our one-on-one communication of iron scratching, iron lacing each other up, have we developed the concept of we don't reach out for assistance, inspiration, or advice. We reach within. And that's just something we practice on. My mama. It's like often why reading books and literature is not attractive, because when you really, really focus on it and break it down to its lowest common denominator, when you read a book, you know at the base core, you're reading another human being's thoughts. And as brilliant as they can be and as valuable as they can be, hmm, why are not the thoughts that you could submit into the same arena as interesting or relevant, unless you're actually solving some age-old mysteries or curing some type of ailment that plagues us as a community? What makes what you have to say any more worth reading than what any other person has to say? That's what my mind tells me. Why are we so consumed with what other people think, thought, say, and said?
but from presence. It is the sound of a mind that has learned to rest within itself. He wakes to the stillness of morning, the faint echo of a kettle boiling, the first shaft of light cutting across the floor, the scent of something familiar. To others, this may seem like monotony, but to him, it's the rhythm of peace. His home is a living mirror of his psyche, a sanctuary where his thoughts are not judged, and his energy is not drained by social noise. 1. The hidden energy economy. Psychologically, introverted men experience energy differently. The world outside, loud conversations, crowded rooms, constant engagement, doesn't fuel them. It drains them. Every small interaction costs a piece of mental currency. Home becomes the place where that currency is restored. Carl Jung, who first popularized the concept of introversion and extroversion, suggested that introverts turn their libido inward. Their life force, instead of seeking stimulation from external chaos, finds nourishment in internal reflection. This doesn't mean they hate people. It means they draw strength from solitude.
Go check my old lyrics back in the mixtape of my era. A phrase, mental masturbation. I fucked with that. Y'all know I'm in alliteration, so the M's did it, but it made a lot of sense. Like, it's hard to stimulate me from without, man. Regurgitation of another person's thoughts can only take you so far. Look at Hollywood. They keep remaking the same old movies and same old franchises because they can't even come up with nothing shocking and amazing enough to move into the future.
From the deep well of inner dialogue. A man who loves staying home is not antisocial. He's selective. He understands that not all connections are nourishing. He prefers depth over breadth, meaning over motion. While society glorifies the man who moves constantly, chasing deals, parties, and approval, the quiet man moves within. His progress is invisible, but profound. 2. The sanctuary of control. In his home, he is sovereign.
I often reflect on how Floyd Mayweather, how big of a fan I am, how had I been a different personality or character like almost everybody else in around me, he probably would be a lot more personally familiar with me, because when I was running around with G-Unit, so many times I had an opportunity to go from the hotel to the venue to be in the VIP with Floyd Mayweather, which everyone else was doing and jumping on. And I just would prefer, back to the M word, not mentally, but I would prefer to be in a hotel on the phone, having phone with a female that I'm really familiar with, rather than scraping up something in the lobby, trying to really do it to them. I'd rather have somebody I have a real intimate connection with that miss me, that I miss, that we familiar with each other. I'd rather be on the phone with them, freaking in my 5-star hotel, than out at the club where all the homies was at trying to get close to this and that. And I was a big fan, but I just ain't tripping on being around. I'm not a thrill seeker like that. I prefer, even when it comes to parties, often said by me and my circle, only party I go to is my own, the one we throw. Or the one I'm paid to be at, of course. That's business.
Every object has meaning. Every corner is a decision. The world outside often feels unpredictable, messy, and performative. Inside, he builds order, not out of obsession, but out of necessity. Control for him is not about power. It's about grounding. When life outside feels chaotic, his surroundings become an anchor. Psychologists call this environmental mastery, the ability to shape one's surroundings to match one's emotional needs. It's a subtle but powerful form of emotional regulation. His tidy desk, his routine, his chosen music, they form a system that regulates his inner weather. To an outsider, it may look like habit or even withdrawal, but in truth, it's therapy. The home is a self-designed world where he can restore equilibrium. 3. The myth of the lonely man. The label lonely is often misused. To be alone is not the same as to be lonely. The lonely man feels absence. The solitary man feels presence. A man who loves staying home experiences solitude as abundance. He doesn't need the noise of others to validate his existence. Instead, he finds dialogue in silence. His thoughts, his music, his books, his routines, they all speak to him in quiet harmony. There's a depth to this that modern life rarely allows. When a man spends time alone, he meets himself. He confronts his fears, his memories, his desires. That confrontation can be uncomfortable, which is why most people avoid it. They drown it out with distractions. But he doesn't. He faces it. And in doing so, he becomes whole. 4. The rebellion against noise. We live in an age that confuses activity with meaning. Social media, constant communication, and relentless motion have made silence feel suspicious. When someone says, "I just want to stay home," people often hear, "Something's wrong." But maybe something's right. Maybe that man is quietly rebelling against the expectation that life must be loud to be valid. In his stillness, he reclaims something sacred: attention. He pays attention to details others overlook: the sound of rain, the shifting of light through.
I live with two of my adult daughters and my granddaughter, and it seems like I'm the only person alive that realizes if you don't take your time and slowly turn the three knobs in the shower off, maybe I'm the only. I don't understand. I guess it's like how we always say females in that beep 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 from the smoke detector. I can't go in the bathroom, sit on the toilet, and hear that water, like the sound of the water running in the wall, without reaching over there and it's just a small But I've noticed if I don't do it, it never gets done. If I'm not the one that takes the toilet paper and actually put it on the little roll and put it on the wall, it never gets done. It'll be on the back of the toilet, on the side of the sink. I just don't know what other people think. Oh, blah, 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 blah. I love my babies, though. Facts.
the blinds, the way the air feels different at dawn than at dusk. This sensitivity is not fragility. It's awareness. And awareness is intelligence in its purest form. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once said, "The crowd is untruth." The man who stays home lives by that insight, not out of cynicism, but clarity. He knows that truth is rarely found in collective noise. It's found in the quiet space between thoughts. 5. The emotional architecture of home is not merely a structure, it's an extension of the self. Every man who loves staying at home has, consciously or unconsciously, built a psychological architecture around comfort, familiarity, and meaning. The living room becomes a reflection of his mental state, organized but not sterile, personal but private.
Babe, I would my kids got to see this. That describes my personal space. They order neat, not sterile and just spick and span, but I can't think in clutter and dishevelment. That's deep.
The bedroom becomes a temple of retreat, a place to dream, to rest, to re-enter the world. The kitchen, a reminder of nourishment, both physical and emotional. Even the smallest details, like the chair he always sits in or the mug he uses every morning, become symbols of identity.
Now that remind me of my daddy. You go to my daddy house, you gonna have to come to the doughboy finna break your neck. So happy to see you, man. Anything you want, first meal, wop, whoop, wop. Can't go to sleep, wake up in the morning, it's coffee boiling in the pot. You go to the counter and grab the wrong mug, it's on. You drop the wrong amount, you put a little creamer on the counter, it's a problem. You drip your coffee. Oh man, you think I got it bad? Big time. He got OCD. He know where. Why don't he want to? I get so sidetracked trying to explain. And he a don't give a what nobody else got going on type of guy too. I know I get it honestly, and I get it from my mama. My mama, not like that though. But my mama, she just don't be a nobody face, not interested in nobody being in her private personal space. When she go out to her church functions, cool. When she go deal with her family by choice, cool. But her home that she paid for, that she own, man, that's her private zone, and she's not looking for nobody to be in there. She don't mind being alone. Oh, my mama.
Psychologists refer to this as territoriality, a natural human need to mark and personalize one's space. For the man who loves staying at home, this territory is sacred. It's not about possession. It's about belonging. The home is the one place where he does not have to perform. 6. The masculine paradox.
Well, I have a slight disagreement with that because I'm through performing anywhere. I just do not give a fuck. Oh my! Do I got one of them on here? Let me see. I'm sure I do. Where is that? I just got to make it clear. I know these sound effects ain't coming in like they should, but they coming in better than they once were. I think this machine is somehow to a degree defective on that, but I thought I had. Oh, there we go. Don't give a fuck. Yeah, I just had to try that. Y'all let me know how clear that sounded in the comments.
Strength in stillness. Society often tells men to be conquerors, to go out, fight, and claim. But the man who stays home has discovered another kind of strength, restraint. His masculinity is not measured by dominance, but by discipline. He doesn't need to prove himself through noise. He proves it through control, of emotion, of time, of attention. There's a quiet heroism in that. To choose peace in a world addicted to chaos is an act of courage. Many men who love staying at home carry a deep awareness of their emotional landscapes. They've learned that emotional maturity isn't about suppression, but regulation. They know how to sit with sadness.
I think throughout regulation, at times you suppress. Sometimes people got to get too tricky with their words, because if you're regulating, that means you're definitely suppressing. It's like that; those are almost synonymous. But if you're not suppressing, then what other regulation is there?
Without drowning in it, how to enjoy solitude without losing touch, how to build stability without applause. 7. The healing of the inner world. Often this preference for solitude is born from experience, not avoidance. Some men have been hurt by the external world. Rejection, betrayal, exhaustion.
That wouldn't be me personally. I think I'm kind of groomed for it, as in being, although I do have 4 siblings, I have 3 sons that my father gave birth to that my mother didn't. And then I have another brother that my stepmother raised for her sister, because my auntie Nora wasn't doing too well when she was younger. So my brother slash cousin Mike grew up in our household. He was Dice from 97 EC too. So we call ourselves a group of brothers, but that's just giving y'all the dynamic of it. I say that to say this. Damn, what the Phoenix did he just say?
The home becomes their way of healing.
And I drew a blank. I forgot why I was bringing up all my brothers and how it was. Oh, I don't know. Damn, I hate that. My bad, y'all.
A quiet cocoon where wounds can close in peace. In psychological terms, this can be seen as self-soothing. Rather than seeking constant reassurance from others, the man turns inward. He learns to comfort himself, to create safety without dependence. Over time,
I was going to say, I think that's where I get my natural inclination for being comfortable being alone, is because my siblings lived in another household. All 3 of my older brothers, my cousin brother and my 2 brothers, my other, I had the other mother. Then I have a younger brother who's younger than me, but like he was born in 87. I was born in 76, so he's younger than me by what's that? 76, 87, 70, 11 years. He's younger than me. So, but my mother, I was her only child. So I lived the primarily majority of my life in a household with just she and I. Being say that to say I really learned how to be alone growing up in a household as the only child. Then spending a small amount of time incarcerated in my younger years, I really adapted just to my own company, own thoughts. And I'm used to it. A lot of times other people are invading the normalcy that I'm used to. Oh my mama.
This self-reliance transforms into serenity. His solitude becomes a garden, not a prison, and in that garden, growth happens. Slow, invisible, but real. 8. The inner dialogue. Inside those quiet walls, there's a constant conversation. It's not loneliness, it's introspection. He thinks deeply about things others glance over. He replays memories, analyzes choices, dreams quietly of futures he doesn't announce. This inward focus is not narcissism, it's consciousness. When you strip away the distractions of society,
Is that what the brothers meant by knowledge itself, the 5% in the Islam? Because I don't know, that's why I say all roads lead to Nineveh, and there may be a million paths to one place, bro, because you got different terminology, different thinkings, but it seemed like at the core, a lot of the principles of a lot of things are based on the same principles.
actions, endless motion, you are left with yourself. Most people don't know what to do with that, but he does. He listens to himself. He confronts his contradictions. He refines his philosophy of living. That's why his calm can sometimes feel intimidating to others. People who are not at peace with themselves often project discomfort onto those who are. 9. A different kind of freedom.
Another thing, once you learn to accept the unpredictableness of life in general, you kind of like assume a peace. It's so much out of our control. And there's a common quote we've all heard a million times, whether we can quote it perfectly, I can't myself, but it says, Lord, give me the strength to change the things that I need to change and can change. And then something like the serenity or something to accept the things that I can't. And if we can get to there mentally, go back to what I described the Bible as offering outside of eternal life, the greatest gift the Bible is known to offer is peace. And not just peace, but the peace that passeth all understanding. And you just take that phrase because I've always heard that scripture and it's so poetic, the peace that passes all understanding. And a lot of people don't slow it down and stop to focus on what that says. Look at that cartoon dude in that picture. It's just imagine the outside world being full of turmoil and a storm, and he's right there like, it's the peace that passes all understanding. It's the peace that Jonah had when he was on, oh, no, it's the peace that Jesus had when there was a bunch of people on a ship and there was a storm. The ocean was tossing the ship just to and fro. They throwing anything off the ship that weighed anything that wasn't essentially necessary because they trying to say they still think it's finna, the whole, everybody on the boat is engaged. They're panicking. They're scared. They're praying to 10, 20, 30 different gods. They're all in unison. No one is mad one with the other. And as they scampering around this boat, they find Jesus himself sleep peacefully. Peacefully. He had a peace that passeth all understanding. They couldn't believe it. What the is wrong with you? Do you see what we're going through? And you know what his peace was based upon? His ability to go out there to this ocean that was horrific. And I'm very familiar with the mightiness of the ocean. It's a mighty machine, it is. And the peace he had, he was able to walk out there and say, to that ocean that was so violent and so hard-headed and so aggressive. He said, peace, be still. That's why he had the peace that passeth all understanding. But the Bible professes to provide that to all believers, which would be you and I. I'm just saying, facts.
There is a quiet irony in the life of a man who loves staying at home. He is often perceived as trapped, yet he is freer than most. He has escaped the invisible prison of validation. The modern world runs on performance, the need to be seen, liked, and approved. The homebody man doesn't play that game. He measures his days by peace, not praise. He values time over attention. He knows that freedom is not about where you go. It's about how you feel when you get there. In his space, he is both the observer and the observed. He has nothing to prove, no one to impress, no crowd to perform for. Freedom for him is a quiet morning where he can hear his own thoughts. 10. The myth of wasted time. Many fear stillness because they equate it with stagnation. But to the man who loves staying home, stillness is fertile. It's where creativity and clarity grow. Writers, philosophers, scientists.
Writers, philosophers, creatives. I knew I was included in this title just by the title.
Many of history's most brilliant minds found their revelations in solitude. Nietzsche, Thoreau, Newton, all men who understood that insight comes not from noise, but from quiet observation. When he sits alone, the man is not wasting time. He's digesting it. He's processing the world, filtering out the meaningless, extracting truth from experience. This internal processing is a core component of what psychologists call deep work, the ability to focus without distraction on meaningful tasks. The man at home might look still, but his mind is alive. 11. The balance between comfort and avoidance. Yet, there's a fine line. Solitude can heal, but it can also isolate. Comfort can restore, but it can also numb. The man who loves staying home must stay aware of this tension. When solitude becomes avoidance, peace turns into stagnation. The key lies in intention. Does he stay home to connect with himself or to hide from the world?
He's saying sometimes you gotta pop out and show this, because every blue moon, the family functions that I routinely skip, every blue moon I pop up and my presence is appreciated. The church services my mother would love me to attend, I do not attend them routinely, but every now and then I pop in and my presence is appreciated and my experience being there is appreciated before I can start experiencing a whole lot of things redundantly that I don't appreciate. I don't want to be at a lot of places a lot of times that whenever everybody, even the nature of my job as a casual longshoreman, for those that know, they know there's so much control within the employee of your time, your schedule. I don't have a boss. When I go to work, I get like a 3 to 4 or 5 minute spiel in a big group from a guy who calls himself a boss. And unless you fuck up, you don't see him again. It's just time. And you go home, you never see him again. We don't punch no clocks. Even if I might come on live and say, I'm on the clock right now, I've never seen a clock. We don't punch no clocks. There's just so much freedom within my personal experience of a 9 to 5. I don't believe I could have ever committed myself to many other styles of 9 to 5s. I'm telling you, I just extremely blessed. Gee, the gratitude is the attitude. Thanks to the creator. Because I come across as responsible because I do have and maintain a 9 to 5. However, it's one specific, particular, unique, special 9 to 5 designed for me and individuals like me only. And it just happens to be at the top of the desirability of individuals that appreciate getting 9 to 5s. There's not many jobs, at least I know here in Southern California, that anyone has as just a career job. That's not something you went to college for and all that. If you got any kind of good job, you're a good hard worker. There's not many jobs I know of individuals that wouldn't trade their job for mine. And I just want to say thank you to the creator because he blessed me with it multiple times. I threw it away in '04 when I met 50, even though just to think about this, y'all, to be qualified and to remain qualified for this employment position, I will only be required, as I am today, is to only take one shift every 6 months. Even if there's 7 days of work available, which it varies at different, every week is different. Sometimes we get 1 day a week, sometimes we get 7 days a week. And when Trump get to playing with terrorists, sometimes we get 0 days a week. However, if there's 7 days a week of work available for me, I'm only required to take one shift within 6 months. And when you get to the 6 months period, they got a long grace period. So basically, one shift a year. And my goofy ass was so gone on this rap shit. My mama was begging me to go down there, take the test, and qualify. But I just knew this was the end of all, be all, G-Unit. I don't need that. Plus, they wore the hat, the vest, and the boots. And that threw me off because that's what I was always running from. So, y'all see how the G-Unit shit went. It went with a big. Oh, I ain't nothing like you fucking rap niggas. 2-year run fizzled out, a few $100,000. And the job that I have now that the creator brought back around for me in 2017, and I believe I began in 2018, I missed from '04 to 18. And if I've done the math, but if I did the math for you, the money that I could easily obtain with very little effort, I love my job. So meaning I would have learned to love it back then, but I was so naive and ignorant, running from a 9 to 5. I threw away millions between '04 and 18. That's 14 years of getting at minimum 100, 120,000 a year. And from that point, I mean, I don't even want to blow the spot. People know what it is, man. I ran off, did that bullshit, y'all. But I don't let it kick my ass in the form of regret. But often, I can't help but realize the realities when I reflect.
Healthy solitude is active. It's mindful. It nurtures creativity, reflection, and rest. Unhealthy solitude is passive. It feeds avoidance, fear, and disconnection. The psychology of this man, then, is not static. It's a living dance between engagement and retreat, between the outer and inner world. 12. The home as a mirror of self. Over time, his home becomes an autobiography, written not in words, but in choices. The colors he picks, the books he keeps, the objects he refuses to throw away. Each tells a story. His home is not an escape from life, but a reflection of how he chooses to live it. It's where he thinks, heals, creates, and recharges. It's where his truest self feels safe enough to exist without performance. And perhaps that's the essence of his psychology. He doesn't need the world to tell him who he is. He already knows. The man who loves staying at home is not a mystery. He is a mirror. A reflection of what happens when a human being chooses to slow down in a culture that cannot stop moving. He stands at the edge of modern society like a still figure watching a river rush by, calm, deliberate, aware that the current, though powerful, often leads nowhere. His psychology reveals more about the world than about himself. Because to understand why he stays home, we must first understand what he is staying away from. 1. A culture addicted to distraction. We live in an age that fears stillness. Every empty moment must be filled. Every silence must be broken. Every pause is treated like a problem to be solved. In that environment, the man who enjoys solitude becomes an anomaly. He's not resisting people. He's resisting pressure. Psychologists call this the stimulation paradox. The more stimulation society offers, the less tolerance people develop for quiet. The man who stays home, however, has reclaimed that tolerance. He has rewired his mind to feel alive without the constant buzz of validation. He doesn't crave the quick dopamine hit of attention or approval. Instead, he finds satisfaction in subtler rewards, focus, peace, and depth. This makes him in a way more free than those who seem busy living, because he's no longer enslaved by the rhythm of the crowd. 2. The depth of self-containment. There is a psychological concept known as self-containment, the ability to derive emotional stability and satisfaction from one's own inner life rather than external reinforcement. For most people, the self is like an open window, constantly influenced by the weather of other people's moods and opinions. For him, the self is a house with sturdy walls and open light. The world may storm outside, but he remains centered. Self-containment is rare because it requires emotional discipline. It demands comfort with silence, patience with solitude, and a strong inner narrative.
And others can help you through stimulation past so many moments that are difficult to pass. And so many people, that's what whole counseling and so many things are about: relationships, utilizing other people to get through some of the most mundane moments that you might not even realize are difficult to get through because you're so used to having someone there. When you detach totally from anyone outside of someone that you're responsible for creating, and only deal with those individuals through that love and responsibility, and then don't really give a about nobody else in society, you start realizing the lack of need for a whole lot of interaction. No contact, no conflict. Rest in peace, Nellie Fuller Jr.
The man who loves staying at home is not empty. He is full. Full of thoughts, ideas, reflections, questions. His inner world is textured, layered, endlessly alive. That is why he doesn't depend on endless motion to feel alive. His life moves inward. 3. The fear of still men. Yet society often reacts uneasily to such men. Why? Because stillness threatens the illusion of progress. When people see someone who refuses to run with the herd, they begin to question their own direction. His calm becomes a quiet accusation, not through words, but through contrast. He doesn't flaunt wealth, status, or validation. He doesn't need to prove how busy or important he is, and that, in a world built on showing, is radical. There's a subtle strength in a man who doesn't chase attention. His detachment unsettles people who mistake noise for value. He doesn't play the social game because he has already seen through it. This can make him misunderstood, labeled distant, strange, even cold. But those labels are merely society's defense mechanisms against what it doesn't understand. A man at peace with himself. 4. The philosophy of solitude.
Cheetah, a man, woman at peace with themselves are content with attempting to stay in a consistent state of gratitude, contentment, acceptance, even though they have desires and ambitions and aspirations, all a while they are content with their actual existence, grateful, realizing that nothing that they have is guaranteed. No matter how hard you worked for it, it wasn't earned, it was given. It's a gift. You are blessed. There are people that have done more to deserve and acquire what you have, and they didn't get it. I promise you that. Oh, my mama.
Solitude to him is not an escape from life, it's an entry into it. Philosophers like Nietzsche, Pascal, and Emerson all warned that humanity loses itself in distraction. Blaise Pascal once wrote, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." The man who loves staying home has solved that problem. He can sit quietly. He can think.
That's the problem with religion, in my belief. Spirituality, if you look at the universe and the way it's designed, if you believe in the creator, of course. If you don't believe in the creator concept at all, then this might not resonate. But if you believe in the creator, you look at everything that the creator created, from the stars to the planets, to the plants, to the animals, to the ocean, to everything, the clouds, everything operates in the way the creator designed it without any communication with a peer. I don't believe clouds have to communicate with clouds to tell them what the creator would desire from them. I don't think plants have to talk to plants to know what the creator wants them to do. I don't believe animals have to communicate with one another to know that they are designed to do this, that, or the other. However, the only part of the creation of the creator that thinks that they need to refer with his peers, others like it, to get some type of direction or instruction from the creator, are humans. And when you think about what we told about African spirituality initially, they had their own unorthodox, unformatted way of connecting with the creator and expressing their appreciation and their allegiance and whatever else they wanted to express. It was not formatted. It was not indoctrinated, documented, and shaped, because the expression was natural, and each individual left that connection to each individual, similar to the stars, the whales, the birds, the lions, the trees. They allow the creator to dictate. here we are as humans, got this thing called religion and preachers and leaders and people who claim to know better than you, the creation, what the creator would have you do with your life. And I think it's gotten us in a big mess. I think we would be doing just fine if we would trust the creator to communicate with its creation one-on-one, and quit thinking that we can outthink the creator and do better than whatever we see going on.
He can simply be. This ability is not trivial. It's the foundation of self-awareness. When you can spend time alone without discomfort, it means you've befriended your mind. You've faced its shadows, its noise, its endless questioning, and you've made peace with it. In a way, he represents a modern monk, not cloistered in religion but devoted to the spiritual discipline of presence. 5. Solitude as strength. In psychology, strength is often associated with resilience, the ability to recover from chaos. The man who loves staying at home has learned resilience by mastering rest. His stability comes from restoration, not resistance. He doesn't fight the world. He recharges apart from it. He teaches something profound without saying a word. Peace is not something you find outside. It's something you build inside. That's why his silence is not absence, it's construction. Every moment of solitude is another brick in the architecture of his mental fortitude. 6. Masculinity reimagined. This kind of man also challenges traditional images of masculinity. The world often expects men to be visible, assertive, loud, constantly producing and performing. But there's a growing realization that quiet masculinity, rooted in reflection and emotional intelligence, is no less powerful. He doesn't roar, he radiates. He doesn't dominate, he steadies. His home becomes his dojo, not of combat, but of composure. He learns patience, empathy, self-awareness. These qualities, once dismissed as weakness, now emerge as the foundation of modern strength. This redefinition of masculinity is psychological evolution, the shift from proving one's worth to knowing it. 7. The dual edge of
AI gotta just tighten up. There's so many times in this piece, the plural, they pronounce one S instead of ones. They've done that multiple times.
comfort. Still, there's a cautionary side to this serenity. The comfort of solitude can become seductive. Too much safety can stunt growth. The same walls that protect him can, over time, begin to confine him. That is the paradox. The home that nurtures him can also limit him if he forgets to engage with life beyond it.
That's why I say every now and then you gotta pop out and show niggas, tap in before you totally tap out. I get that too. It's a balance. Balance is key in all things we do in life.
Because even the deepest thinker needs movement, experience, and connection to stay alive inside. Healthy solitude is balance, a rhythm of withdrawal and return. The man who loves staying home must remember that the inner world thrives best when it occasionally meets the outer one. 8.
Another thing I love that work provides for me. When it's time to be at work, there's time to be with a lot of different personalities, different cultures. Right in my small immediate group that I interact with every day, there's Black, Mexican, um, lesbian, no openly male gay that I'm aware of, but we got ex Sereno, rest in peace, Jerry Monia. We got Keyway. We got kind of like Damu. We got Black. We got White. Shout out Chris. Shout out Seth. It's just a real diverse dynamic of people I get to bounce off of. Shout out Desiree. Yeah, it's just like I use that as therapeutic, and then I'll be able to. Even then, though, I'm a lot less social than everybody else I named in our immediate group. It's just me personally.
What he represents. Ultimately, the man who loves staying at home is not just a person, he's a symbol. He represents the human capacity for introspection in an age of distraction. He stands for the courage to step out of the current, to choose meaning over motion. He reminds us that silence is not a void, but a vessel, one that holds clarity, purpose, and truth. When we look at him, we're not just seeing a man who
Lord, can you fill the void in this vessel? Well, I love alliteration. Not a void, but a vessel. That just caught my attention.
enjoys his own space. We're seeing the archetype of self-awareness, a quiet counterpoint to the chaos of collective living. He is a message in human form.
Quieter counterpart to the chaos of collective alliteration.
That being alone can be an act of connection, connection to the self, to peace, to authenticity. In the end, the man who loves staying at home is not avoiding life. He's redefining it. He has discovered what many spend years searching for in others, a sense of inner companionship. He does not depend on the chaos of the world to feel alive. He has built his own ecosystem of peace, a place where time slows down and meaning deepens. He doesn't fear silence. He listens to it. He doesn't chase company. He cherishes authenticity. He doesn't measure worth by visibility. He measures it by alignment. In his quiet world, he has learned that happiness is not a spectacle. It's a state of harmony. We often think of strength as noise, the ability to dominate, to win, to shout louder than the crowd. But there's another kind of strength, quieter, deeper, invisible. The strength to be content with simplicity, the courage to walk away from what drains the soul, the wisdom to know that solitude is not punishment, but privilege. His home is not a retreat from reality. It is the stage where he lives most truthfully. The walls around him do not confine him. They protect the sacred dialogue between his thoughts and his spirit. And through that dialogue, he becomes something the world rarely produces anymore. A whole man. A man at peace with his choices. A man unafraid of stillness. A man who doesn't need an audience to exist. Psychologically, he reminds us that balance is not found in constant motion, but in the ability to pause. The brain, like the heart, needs rhythm, contraction and release, noise and silence. Without stillness, even joy becomes noise. Without reflection, even success feels hollow. Perhaps the man who loves staying home is not behind. He's ahead. He's living the future the rest of us are too distracted to imagine. A future where presence replaces performance, where being replaces doing. So, the next time you see a man who chooses to stay in, who prefers his books, his rituals, his silence, don't mistake it for weakness.
Crazy, because to me, avoiding the books is equivalent to staying in, because that's still what somebody on the outside said or thought or wrote.
It might be strength in its purest form, the kind that doesn't need applause. Maybe he's not hiding from the world. Maybe he's simply building one within himself, one that no noise can disturb and no chaos can steal. And in a time when everyone is running, he stands still. And somehow, that makes him the only one truly moving.
He said, run and stand still. The marathon continues. Rest in peace, neighborhood nip. I know people like Lauren London, Black Sam, G the engineer, Adam can relate when I tell you shortly before Nipsey died. I know Jay Stone, Killer Twan, Pac-Man. No, I can't be making this up when I tell you weeks before Nipsey died, because he was explaining to me how what happened to him was impossible to happen to us, because now we at a status where we live within our bubble and we don't come outside our bubble. And you know how prolific he spoke and poetic and prolific. I think I said that already, but he was such a well-spoken person. Every time he would speak about something that he seemed to have thought about, it was a moment. So I can recall, and at this time he was describing to me, and mind you, this is shortly before he passed, and he was on, and I was just believing everything he said so much when he described how we live within this bubble, and we don't come outside this bubble and allow the outside world to affect what we had going on. And I felt, I'm looking at his life, seeing like, okay, when he was inclusive of me, it was like he was like, this is our reality. And then we lost him the way we did, man. It remind me of what dude talking about, man. We just gotta do better, man. I think it's no matter, because another Nipsey thought. He said, I was thinking chess moves. It was God's grace. So many times that we can calculate ourselves to success. And like I said, no matter what decisions we make, it's all out of our control at the end of the day. Rest in peace, Nip. I'm off subject, but I love Cuz. Rest in peace, Puto. Introduce me to Cuz. Oh, my mama.
Boys are boys from the beginning. If you were born a boy, you stay a boy. Girls are girls right from the start. If you were born a girl, you stay a girl and grow up to be a lady. Everybody's fancy, everybody's fine. Your body's fancy, and so is mine. Only girls can be the mommies. Only boys can be the daddies, yes sir. Everybody's fancy, everybody's fine. Your body's fancy, and so...
Wasn't that hustle? Big shout out to SPI, Spotter Low. You know, I'm in the black box, had to come through, tap in, show love one time. Yeah, y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Stay tuned, all that.